Welcome back to the Humble Market Timer YouTube channel. Once again, if you enjoy the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. In today's video, I wanted to focus on Solana. Is it finally ready to attack all-time highs? Before I go any further, let me show you my disclaimer. Once again, these are my sole ideas, not investment advice. Now, I've talked about cryptocurrency and how some of the major coins in cryptocurrency are Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Solana. Now, Bitcoin, as you can see, has exploded higher and made new highs. Here's a chart of XRP. You can see it has also made new highs after attacking it. And then you have Ethereum, which is currently at all-time highs. So you have 3 of the 4 major crypto coins that have all made all-time highs within the last 2 to 3 months or so. And then you look at Solana, and it is still about 40% away from being at its all-time highs. And it kind of made you scratch your head and wonder why Solana hasn't performed the way the other major crypto coins have done. Bitcoin, of course, is the biggest dog, and so of course what it does it's always going to be the lead. But you would think that Ethereum and XRP and Solana would all kind of be equal in, again, approaching its highs. But again, it just hasn't happened yet with Solana. But I think there are signs now that Solana may be about to make that big move higher back to its all-time highs as well. Here's a chart of Solana again, and I drew a couple of parallels. You have this major upsloping parallel, you have a smaller parallel here, and then you also have a parallel here that it is currently grinding in. I talk a lot about symmetry on my channel, and as you can see, there is great symmetry right here where you have this side for this M top. It's starting to look exactly like the other side of the M top, and as it is churning within this parallel, you're going to have likely 1 or 2 things happen. It's either going to break this parallel and then attack this one, or it'll have resistance at the top of this parallel and will head back lower. And then this side will start to look a lot like this side. So it's going to be 1 or 2 ways. But I've also talked about in the past how you can look at the RSI and determine if a breakout is going to occur just by looking at the RSI. And you can see here we have a parallel, and ideally you like your RSI to go in the low 30s or maybe even below 30 to truly signal a bottom. This one only went to about 35 on the RSI. Again, you'd like it to go a little bit lower, but as you can see, it has bounced pretty strongly off that RSI. And as you can see here, we are breaking out of that parallel. Now, you still need confirmation of the break because it just started to happen. But that is a signal that if once you break out of the parallel, you tend to get bigger moves. Just to kind of show you what has happened with that. As you see, Ethereum had a similar downsloping parallel, and then it broke out of that parallel. Again, this is on the weekly chart. And look at the move it made once it broke out of that parallel in the RSI. Look at this powerful move it made. And we are potentially in a time where Solana is about to make a similar move, in my opinion. Just to kind of also dig a little bit deeper, I want to compare Solana to Bitcoin, or Solana divided by Bitcoin. And what that shows you is when the chart is angling down, that means Solana is bleeding against Bitcoin. And if it's going up, that means Solana is outperforming Bitcoin. And as you can see here, ever since the start of the year, Solana has been bleeding against Bitcoin. So it's been going down. So had you had your money in Solana, you would have made a lot more money had you had your money in Bitcoin. But as you can also see, that we are starting to curl up out of that downtrend, so that Solana is no longer bleeding against Bitcoin. It looks like it's starting to get to a point where it's outperforming. You can see also here in the RSI, we were in a long-term downtrend, but as you can see, it has broken that downtrend, and typically you curl back up to highs if you notice the pattern in previous years. To also look at Solana versus Ethereum, you can see Solana has really been bleeding versus Ethereum. Ethereum has been outperforming Solana by miles, and that's evident in this extensive downward trend that we have seen starting in April. But again, if you look at the RSI is starting to hit that 30-ish area on the weekly. That tends to signal reversal is coming after an extended move within a parallel down. That tends to signal that we're about to get a reversal. So I think once we break this downtrend, and it looks like we're close to doing it, you will see Solana significantly even start to outperform Ethereum. So what that's telling you is that if we do get a big move, particularly if we get a big move, your money will be best suited in Solana versus Ethereum or Bitcoin. And that kind of makes sense because Solana hasn't performed the way that the others have, and it is due to catch up. And just to kind of give you one more visual, here's a chart of Solana versus Ethereum, and I have Ethereum and Solana all together. Ethereum represents the pink line, and as you can see, when there is a big gap between Ethereum and Solana eventually catches back up to Ethereum. It happened here. Again, another big gap here. Look at Solana catch up. Here we are now. You can see Ethereum is significantly outperformed Solana. Eventually, I do believe you will see Solana catch up. Now, one other reason why I think you could be in the midst of a big move is because on Friday in the Fed minutes from Fed Chairman Powell, he finally hinted that there will be an easing in interest rates. And when we have that, typically when there's easing in monetary policy or lowering of interest rates, that is often steroids for altcoins, because that just means that risk is on, monetary policy is easing, money tends to flow big time into altcoins. So when you have that influx of money, a lot of it is going to go to Solana. I'm looking for, again, Solana to first break out of this parallel, and if it does, it is a pretty strong chance that it's going here. And keep an eye on this break to see if we continue higher, or if it eventually falls its way back into the parallel. If it falls its way back into the parallel, we could be headed lower here temporarily. But if those rates are lowered and monetary policy is easing, as Powell hinted that it will happen in the very near future, look for an explosive move in Solana and look for it to outperform all the other notable altcoins and crypto coins. Hope you like the content. If you enjoy it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.